Yeah, you might want to keep your lights on for that one. It all started with a photograph, a simple picture of a stagecoach taken in Tombstone, Arizona. But when the film developed, something impossible appeared. A headless man standing right next to it. In the 1990s, an artist named Laura P. saw the photo and decided to paint it. She called it the stagecraft. But from the moment she finished, she knew something wasn't right. Objects in her house started moving. Footsteps echoed in empty rooms. And the painting itself? It kept turning crooked on the wall, no matter how many times she straightened it. She moved the painting to her office, hoping it was just her imagination. It wasn't. Coworkers complained of cold spots and objects falling off desks. One morning, a framed picture across the room shattered, and nobody was there. When she finally brought the painting home again, she started hearing knocking on the walls, always in sets of 3. And sometimes, when she looked too long at the painted figure, she swore it moved. Visitors reported feeling dizzy near it. One man said he saw a shadow pass behind the stagecoach, inside the painting, and when a paranormal team tried to photograph it, their camera battery drained instantly. Today, the stagecraft is kept locked away. No one really knows what's inside it, a spirit caught in the photo, or the ghost of the man who lost his head that day. You see a little girl covering her ears. Behind her, a pale figure lies motionless in bed. This is The Dead Mother by Edvard Munch, and people say it's the painting that breathes. Munch painted this in 1899, but the story started when he was 5. That's when his own mother died of tuberculosis. He said that moment haunted him for the rest of his life, and it shows. The girl's eyes are wide open, like she's frozen between disbelief and terror. And that hand gripping her ear? That's not fear of death. That's the sound of silence right after it happens. People who've stood near the painting say they felt a chill, heard sheets rustling, or seen the child's eyes move. Some even claim she disappears from the canvas when you look too long. Museums say it's just brushwork, your brain interpreting movement that isn't there. But if you ever find yourself alone in front of it, your body doesn't care what your brain says. Munch once said, "I do not paint what I see, but what I saw." He didn't mean ghosts, he meant memories. But sometimes memories are ghosts. Maybe the painting isn't haunted by spirits, maybe it's haunted by grief itself, and that's why it feels so alive. She stands in the rain, eyes closed, face calm, but somehow she looks like she knows something you don't. This is The Rain Woman, painted by Svetlana Telets in 1996, and according to everyone who's owned it, she doesn't just watch you, she haunts you. Tellet said the image came to her in a dream. She described the woman as appearing out of nowhere, and she painted her in one sitting, without a single sketch. When she finished, she felt drained, like the painting had taken something from her. She tried to sell it, but that's when the strange stories began. Every person who bought the Rain Woman returned it, sometimes within days. Buyers claimed they couldn't sleep. They'd wake up in the night and see the woman's face hovering in their room. Some heard whispering. Others said they felt overwhelming sadness, as if the painting was weeping through them. One owner even said she started crying uncontrollably every time it rained. Eventually, the painting was returned to Telets, again and again. When reporters asked her about it, she said, "I didn't paint her. She painted herself, through me." Even now, the Rain Woman still sits in her studio in Poltava, Ukraine. No one dares to buy it anymore. This is Love Letters, a seemingly innocent portrait of a little girl holding flowers and a letter. But behind that sweet face lurks a legend darker than the canvas. This version is attributed to Richard King, a modern recreation of Love Letters, originally by Charles Trevor Garland. The painting hangs in the Driscoll Hotel in Austin, Texas, or at least a replica does. The story goes that in 1887, the senator's 4-year-old daughter Samantha Houston died inside the hotel after falling down the stairs chasing a ball. People say the little girl in the portrait resembles Samantha, which sparked rumors that her spirit has latched on to the painting. Guests claim strange effects when near the painting. The girl's expression changes, sometimes mere seconds after you look away. A sudden wave of nausea or dizziness. The feeling of being lifted or breathing becoming shallow. Whispers in empty halls, shadows flickering. People claim that after a while, they see something behind her eyes, something alive. Some say they feel ill when simply staring at it too long. But what's real and what's rumor? The painting is a reproduction. The haunting vibe must be coming from elsewhere. Some paranormal researchers point out that most reports come from emotional or suggestible visitors. Some say the idea of a cursed painting is just a storytelling magnet. Once you believe you see movement, your eyes and mind play tricks. Yet others argue that tragedy attaches itself to replicas too, that the energy of the original subject bleeds into any version of the image. You're looking at a portrait of Delphine Lalaurie, a name soaked in cruelty, whispered in the darkest lore of New Orleans. But many believe this portrait is more than just an image. It's cursed. Delphine Lalaurie was a wealthy socialite in early 19th century New Orleans, known for hosting lavish social events. Behind the facade, she allegedly inflicted horrific torture on those she enslaved in her own home. On April 10, 1834, a fire in her Royal Street mansion exposed a hidden attic filled with abused and chained people. The mob that discovered the scene destroyed much of the house. It became a symbol of horror. Decades later, a modern portrait of Lalaurie, planted around 1997 by Riccardo Pustanio, was hung in the restored mansion. Almost immediately, strange reports followed. Items moving or disappearing, whispered voices, cold touches, a lingering smell of smoke. Tenants claimed the painting whispered to them. Some said the eyes of the portrait tracked them as they passed. The darkness that seemed to emanate from the painting became so powerful that eventually it was removed and returned to the artist. The entire mansion is said to be cursed. Owners and tenants report unexplained moans, footsteps, chains dragging, sudden chills in rooms, figures glimpsed through windows, the sense that Delphine's spirit still lingers in the halls. Some believe the energy of her atrocities attached itself to any depiction of her, especially this portrait. 2 polar bears, a shattered sled, and something red buried in the snow. This is Man Proposes, God Disposes, painted in 1864 by Edwin Landseer. And legend says this painting has driven people insane. Landseer painted it after the doomed Franklin expedition, a British voyage to the Arctic that vanished in 1845. The explorers disappeared while searching for the Northwest Passage, their ships frozen, their crews starving. When the wrecks were found years later, rumors of cannibalism and madness spread through Britain. Landseer captured that horror, not with men, but with polar bears feasting on their remains. It's gruesome, quiet, and way too real. The painting now hangs in the University of London, and students swear it's cursed. Every year during exams, it's covered with a Union Jack flag, because one student, years ago, supposedly stared at it too long, and took their own life, leaving a note that read, "The polar bears made me do it." Since then, no one dares take an exam with those eyes watching. Visitors say the bears' eyes move, that they see blood glisten under the paint. Some even claim to hear cracking ice, or the faint sound of human screams when the room is empty. Landseer himself suffered mental illness later in life, and some think his torment seeped into the canvas. At first glance, it's just a portrait, but if you stand in front of it too long, you'll realize it's staring back. This is the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez, and guests at the Galvez Hotel in Texas say it's alive. Bernardo de Galvez was a real person, a Spanish military hero who helped the American colonies win their independence. The hotel that bears his name, built in 1911, hung his portrait at the end of a long hallway. But soon after, guests started reporting something strange. They said the painting's eyes followed them, and the cameras simply refused to take a clear photo of it. Anyone who mocked the painting or tried to photograph it without asking permission claimed that the image came out blurred, distorted, or that their camera would just shut off. Some even felt an icy breeze or saw a shadow move behind the frame. Visitors say the eyes seem to glow faintly when the lights dim. Others have captured what looks like a silhouette reflected in the glass, not their own, but someone standing next to them. And those who try to walk away quickly often report the feeling of being followed, until they leave the hallway entirely. Even skeptics admit, the moment you lock eyes with him, it's hard to look away. This painting was made with human blood, and no one knows who painted it. It's called The Anguished Man, and it's one of the most terrifying artworks ever created. The story begins in northern England. A man named Sean Robinson inherited this painting from his grandmother, who kept it locked in her attic for 25 years. When he asked her why, she said, "Because it's evil." She claimed the artist mixed his own blood into the paint and took his own life right after finishing it. When Sean brought the painting into his house, things got strange. He and his family heard crying, whispers, and scraping sounds in the middle of the night. Doors slammed on their own. They saw a dark figure standing at the end of the hallway. Even their dog refused to go near it. And whenever they left the painting uncovered, they said they felt watched. Sean began recording the activity, uploading the videos to YouTube. Viewers reported hearing moans, growls, and even faint screams in the footage. Skeptics blamed pareidolia, camera noise, or editing. But believers? They say the spirit of the artist, or whatever he summoned, is still trapped in the canvas. Sean eventually locked the anguished man away again, but every few years he takes it out for paranormal researchers to study. They always describe the same feeling: panic, cold air, and a sense that someone is standing right behind them. In the 1980s, houses across the UK were catching fire, over and over again. And in the ashes, firefighters kept finding one thing completely untouched: a portrait of a crying boy. It was called The Crying Boy, painted by Bruno Amadio, also known as Giovanni Bragolin, an Italian artist from the 1950s. He painted dozens of portraits of children in tears, sad, helpless, staring straight at you. They became cheap prints, mass-produced and sold everywhere. Thousands of families had one hanging in their living room, until the fires began. After a firefighter told the Sun newspaper that he'd seen the painting survive multiple house fires without a single scorch mark, panic spread. People started whispering that the boy was cursed, that every home displaying his portrait was doomed to burn. Some said the child in the painting was an orphan, that every place he stayed mysteriously caught fire. Others claimed Amadio mixed his tears or ashes into the paint. No one could prove it, but fear caught like wildfire. By 1985, tabloids were calling it the curse of the crying boy. People began destroying the prints, burning them in public or sending them to newspapers for exorcism. One paper even hosted a crying boy bonfire, where hundreds of portraits were burned. But here's the thing, they still wouldn't burn properly. The varnish, some said, or maybe something else. Investigators later explained it logically. Cheap prints, made on fire-retardant materials, hanging on wires that let them fall face down, protecting them from flames. That's science. But believers insist. You can destroy the painting, but not the curse that came with it. A little boy, a lifeless doll, and dozens of ghostly hands pressed against the glass behind them. This is the Hans Resistum, and it's one of the most haunted paintings in the world. It was painted in 1972 by artist Bill Stoneham, inspired by a childhood photo of himself standing next to a neighborhood girl. The hands behind the glass? According to Stoneham, they represent unseen forces from the world of dreams, trying to reach the living. When the painting was first exhibited in Los Angeles, a local art critic and the gallery owner who displayed it both died shortly after. Coincidence? Maybe. But that was only the beginning. In the year 2000, the painting resurfaced, not in a museum, but on eBay. The seller claimed it was haunted. They wrote that at night, the boy and the doll would move inside the painting. Sometimes the doll would threaten the boy with a gun, and the boy would step out of the frame. They posted photos from a motion-sensing camera, showing the figures changing positions in the dark. The listing went viral. Millions saw it, and thousands swore the images made them feel sick, cold, or watched. Eventually, the painting was bought by a gallery in Michigan, where it's now kept locked away. Visitors still report faint scratching sounds, camera malfunctions, and a strange pressure in their chest while standing near it. As for Stoneham, he insists there was no curse, only symbolism. But even he admitted, strange things started happening after I finished it.